as Becky said, I'm Rosa. I'm a senior lecturer in sociology, and I'm also the course leader for the MSc in Sociology. So I'm just going to talk through a little bit about what our course is about, what we're including as part of the content of the course, and the wider support that we offer all of our students on the programme. So in terms of why this course might be a really exciting one to study and why you might want to consider it, we're really interested in making sure we've got the kind of most robust, interesting and persuasive ways of exploring a whole range of different aspects of social life. So that's what any student could really gain from the Masters, is becoming that expert analyst. So the course offers a multiple of really interesting benefits. So first of all, it's the opportunity to gain that higher level sociological knowledge. So if you've studied the subject before, that might be extending your knowledge into new topics that you might not have thought about in an undergraduate degree. Or if you come from a totally different background and it's not a subject you're familiar with, it gives you the opportunity to kind of expand your horizons and different ways of thinking and different topics. We place a big emphasis on really strong research degrees. So we'll give you those foundations or refresh your knowledge about kind of core methods, but also expand into kind of more innovative and advanced ways of collecting and analysing data. We've focused a lot of the course on really contemporary cutting edge issues that are kind of most impacting and most relevant to our lives right now. And we've got some really great connections to industry and community organisations. For example, one colleague who's got incredibly close relationships with organisations that support asylum seekers and refugees. So thinking about kind of whether the course is right for you and the sort of student that the course might really suit. So our MSc Sociology would be really perfect if you're someone that likes reading and writing and speaking about local and global social issues. So there will be lots of kind of different interesting things for you to read. You'll have various different forms of writing, and you'll be talking about your ideas, both as part of your learning and also in assessments. So kind of if you feel you've got that confidence with different forms of expression, that would be good. If you're just really interested in people, the course would be perfect if you're just really curious about why people are like they are, the different ways that people behave, what culture looks like, and kind of how society evolves. And also if you're interested in learning about people that are different from you or alternative viewpoints, especially those which might sit outside of the mainstream. Course would also be really good if you're someone that wants to develop those really strong, really robust research skills to take forward into your professional lives. And, we also hope that our knowledge doesn't kind of just sit in a bubble, that we actually try and make a difference with it. So we'll support students on the course to use the knowledge that they gain and think about how to translate that in ways that can address real world issues and make a positive difference. So the structure of the course, there are 5 core modules that every single student will study. And the order of these will be slightly different depending on when you start in the year. So the course is delivered at 2 starting points. You can either start in January or you can start in September, and you can study full or part-time. In terms of the core modules that you can take, so the first core one is Changing Society, Sociological Debates. So this is thinking about some of the really big social issues that are changing and shaping our society right now, and also how we can shape society for the better. So highlights on this module might include aspects like technology, the climate crisis, homelessness, migration, and the future of work. Identities and inequalities is perhaps more of those sort of everyday lives and people's experiences side of things. So how our identities are constructed and the relationship between people's positions in societies and inequalities that they might experience. And we've again tried to make sure it's really focused on contemporary issues. So we've got topics including Muslim feminism, urban inequalities in cities, thinking about race and class, the current kind of gender wars within society, and also kind of how everyday choices are judged. Sociological research methods, as it sounds from the title, is the kind of grounding of research methods that all students will get. So that will provide the foundations of core things that you might want to do, interviews and focus groups, but we're also giving the opportunity for students to expand their knowledge into stuff they may not have tried before, including sort of more creative methods or social media analysis, or kind of mobile methodologies as well. Every student will then do a dissertation, a final project, where they collect or collate their own data and analyze it and put it forward. And there's a kind of module that runs alongside that. And finally, there's an enrichment module, which combines building people's postgraduate employability through things like professional networking or work shadowing or speculative applications, as well as wider academic skills will be embedded in that. So thinking about things like advanced kind of in library skills and kind of developing your voice as a researcher. So that's the one of the modules that everyone does. And then we have 3 specialist option modules, and each student would choose one of these. So these are the modules that give people the opportunity to really go in deep on the topic that they're really interested in. And these are led by colleagues who've got real expertise in each of these topics and are hugely passionate about it. So students have the opportunity to personalize the course according to what really speaks to them. All the modules have really strong links with social research throughout them, but then they each have their own distinct connections to different sectors that social science postgraduate students might be interested in. So the first option is emotions, intimacies, and affects. And this is all around the sociology of kind of personal life and feelings and relationships. So that might be looking at things like self-improvement and wellness cultures, or how relationships are shaped by the media. This module might be a really good one if you're someone that's interested in a career in kind of helping professions, social support, or maybe education. Our second option module is cultures of production and consumption. So this is really taking a kind of sociological look at contemporary culture and taste, but also the kind of consequences of the sorts of culture that we're involved in at the moment. So that might look at how we make everyday choices about what we like, whether that's our weddings or the home, how society evaluates and kind of judges people's taste, but also the impacts of consumption on things like the climate crisis. This might be a really brilliant option if you're someone that's interested in media jobs, branding, advertising, that sort of stuff, but also wider jobs in the cultural sector and policy. And our final option is NGOs and social movements. So this is looking at a kind of real global lens at civil society and the different forms of advocacy and activism to address social issues. So in this module, you'd look at humanitarian and development and advocacy work of NGOs, but also transnational activism and how people engage in social movements. And this might be a really brilliant option if you're interested in kind of careers in government or in social policy, but also in kind of third sector, NGO development and advocacy roles as well. So that's kind of what we cover within the course itself. But Portsmouth more broadly as a university is a really lovely place to study that we kind of consistently are rated really highly as a young university, as a newer university. We consistently get really good scores for the academic support that we provide our students. We're really, really proud and really passionate about supporting our students to be the best that they can be. And we also are a kind of very highly scoring university for our research power and our research quality as a new university, as well as having really good outcomes for graduates being in work or further study. So thinking about how that plays out in our school, which is the School of Area Studies, Sociology, History, Politics and Literature. We're the #1 modern university for research quality in area studies from the most recent appraisal. And all of the teaching on the masters will be done by researchers who are actively working on these topics and really know what they're doing and are really passionate about it. on all the sorts of topics that I've covered in the modules: homelessness, climate crisis, gender diversity, mental health, weddings. We've got a kind of real array of expertise. But we also kind of have really good focus on employability and really great connections with employers and exciting opportunities. So obviously today we just have myself and Joseph here, but this is the wider team that teach across the masters. So this is the sociology and social psychology team. Joseph, I was going to ask you to do a little favour for me, pick, I don't know, 3 random colleagues, and then I can say a little bit about them to give a flavour of what our team is like.
Okay, it has to be Naheem Jabbar first off.
Okay, so Naheem is our colleague. So when I mentioned Muslim feminism on identities and inequalities, this is one of the things that he's really interested in, is kind of contemporary Islam, contemporary Islamic experiences. He's currently working on a project looking at gendered experiences of climate refugees in Pakistan, and kind of more broadly thinking about kind of decolonial theory as well, and has historically worked on drone warfare and impacts of the war on terror as well. Let's have number 2.
Charlotte Morris.
So Charlotte Morris is the convener of the Emotions, Intimacy and Affects module, and her expertise is all around the sociology of personal life. So she started looking at, for example, the experiences of single mothers, and she also does a kind of lot of educational research. Have a third and final one.
Simon Stewart.
So Simon is one of our professors and is kind of 2 areas of expertise that he knows about. So one is really around culture and aesthetics and taste, and how do we know what we like and how do we judge it. And he's also really interested in inequalities, particularly class inequalities, and has recently led a really big project looking at migrant homelessness in the UK, particularly under COVID and what happened. So it'd be lovely to go through everyone, but that gives you at least a little flavour of what some of our colleagues do. This is some feedback that I just wanted to share from students on our course, which I think represents the learning experience that students have while they're with us. So the first quote talks about us as lecturers. I think I got muted for a second there. Talks about us being really friendly and seminars being really engaging. And we kind of really pride ourselves on trying to create a really welcoming space where people feel comfortable to share their views and can get excited about what we're learning about. So lots of our teaching is really kind of conversation based about readings or kind of resources, and also lived experiences as well. A second bit of feedback saying that the assignments are really useful in the real world, and getting feedback that would help for a future job, that we try and think about interesting and innovative ways of you being able to demonstrate what you've learned, but in ways that will give you skills that you can translate into other settings later on. The teaching and assessment approach. Every module is delivered as a kind of practical class workshop, so you'll have 3 hours per module per week. And we've timetabled that so it's on maximum of 2 days per week to try and kind of create time so that students can balance their work and life and study, because we're aware that for postgraduate students that's really important, and you have multiple hats and responsibilities you might have on. And the assessment will have a variety of assessments, so it won't just be lots of essays, although there are some, but you'll also have presentations and podcasts for kind of oral assessments, write kind of reports. There's some practical research exercise, and you'll also have a final dissertation as well, which will be your own project on the topic that you're excited in, that speaks to you most. We have then a really wide array of support structures to help students. So every single member of academic staff has drop-in hours. That's where you can just come along, have a chat, check in. If you didn't understand something, we always welcome that. Then myself as the course leader is always available for questions as well. And every student would have a named member of staff who supervises their dissertation and really supports them along that journey. There's then a kind of wider academic and pastoral network of people that can help, including support with the library. Our student engagement officers are that kind of listening ear and pastoral support if you're kind of have a concern or need to chat something through. Learning development tutors are there to provide really brilliant academic support, and that's embedded throughout the course. So if you're someone who maybe isn't familiar with the way that we kind of write assessments or use sources, there is someone there that will be able to help you all the way through the degree. We've got ASDAC, which is our Additional Support and Disability Advice Centre, which can help with a whole range of learning differences and disabilities and reasonable adjustments. We have our Student Wellbeing Service, which can provide mental health and therapeutic and counselling support if you're experiencing kind of concerns or poorer mental health. And finally, we also have in-sessional English. So if you're a student for whom English is not your first language, there is that support to build your confidence and skills expressing yourself in an additional language. We also place this emphasis on boosting your career prospects and embedding employability. So I mentioned before, we have these enrichment sessions throughout the year. We also have brilliant placement centre, career service and a volunteering service. And all of those can help students who want to access opportunities for kind of shorter term placements or maybe one-off work experiences or maybe smaller ongoing volunteering opportunities. And that dedicated career support goes all the way through graduation and for multiple years after someone graduates as well. And that includes, we've got a specific graduate recruitment consultancy and a startup team if people are interested in entrepreneurship. And there's also, if you want to learn more languages, there's free language learning on campus, including British Sign Language, Arabic, Mandarin, and kind of a range of European languages as well. The entry requirements for the course is kind of broadly we're asking for a second-class honours degree in sociology or another discipline that's relevant. But if you have alternative prior experience or different international qualifications, then we will consider them. So absolutely apply and we can kind of look at an application in the round. For tuition fees, because it will vary in your circumstances, that I would recommend having a look at the course page because that will give the up-to-date figures. But if you are a Portsmouth student or you've graduated from Portsmouth, you can have a really quick and easy route by applying via the fast track application, which will save you a lot of time. And you also, if that applies to you, can save 20% on your fees. Finally, if you haven't had the chance to visit Portsmouth before, I would really recommend having a look at this link, which is virtual.port.ac.uk. You can have a little 360 look around our island city, and you can also have a little look around the accommodation as well, and have a bit of a feel about, you know, where you might be living and what it might like to be there. So that's the kind of end of the webinar, and myself and Joseph and Becky will be really happy to answer any questions that you have. It doesn't matter kind of how small, how random, we're really happy to help.